not go to it, and I would disassociate myself with it.
Your party clearly has a problem with Muslims, as was evidenced by what Sarah Pochin said this week.
This debate gets uncomfortable very quickly because one simple challenge puts Reform UK's argument about British values and Islam under serious pressure. Lewis Goodall confronts Robert Jenrick over what he sees as a major contradiction. How can a party claim to defend equal British values while its rhetoric toward Muslims is being challenged as applying a different standard? Before we dive into the full story, comment where you're watching from, and don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next one. Goodall keeps pushing for specifics, and that's where this exchange becomes fascinating. Because once the slogans are stripped away, Jenrick is forced to defend exactly where his party draws the line, and whether that standard is actually being applied consistently. Watch this exchange closely, because this is about much more than one interview. It goes straight to the heart of the political battle over immigration, integration, religion, and what politicians really mean when they talk about British values.
But should people be angry at the way in which both of the two main parties have left our country on energy and on security in the weakest position in our lifetimes? Yes, absolutely. And that is the difference that a reform government would offer, a fundamental break from those failures.
Just on other matters, your leader Nigel Farage said that what we saw with the group Muslim prayer in Trafalgar Square the other day was a group of people attempting dominance over our capital city and our culture. I'd just like you to watch this clip and tell me whether you think this counts as dominance. Just watch this.
Having Hanukkah on the square gives us an opportunity to stand shoulder to shoulder with our Jewish friends and colleagues and neighbours, and to show clear unity and a real sense of belonging between all of us, Jewish and non-Jewish, and show everyone that we stand solely against division, hatred and discrimination.
That's Debbie Weeks-Bernard, who's the Deputy Mayor for Communities and Social Justice, speaking about last December's Hanukkah event. Is that domination, Robert?
Well, firstly, I think the event that you saw in Trafalgar Square was different in character to some of the others that have been held for different religious denominations in recent times, because it was a segregated event. I find it astonishing that the Prime Minister and the Community Secretary are going around essentially calling everyone bigots and racists.
Can we just have a bit of context?
Let me finish my point, Lewis. For saying that a segregated event in one of our most important public spaces is wrong. That is anti-British.
Okay.
And I never want to see that happen again. The idea that women should be huddling at the back in Trafalgar Square whilst men take centre stage in our country is wrong.
Ramadan Tent Project has said that is a gross misinterpretation of the gathering and totally untrue. In their statement, they said the event was open to all, that there were no restrictions to anyone in the square. They added that representatives from the Muslim, Jewish, Christian, Hindu, Sikh communities attended the event, and the feedback from attendees was overwhelmingly positive. Yes, women and men prayed separately. That's how they do it in mosques. Well, is your problem with Islamic standard religious practice?
Well, I don't like women being second-class citizens, no.
So you don't like it in Orthodox Jewish churches either, or synagogues?
Well, that's not the way that I conduct myself. If you,
well, no, 'cause you're not Jewish.
Obviously, people are free to practice their religion how they wish in our country, but should we be celebrating segregation? No, absolutely not. That is fundamentally anti-British.
It's not segregation.
Let me ask you a question.
Why is it segregation?
Because the men and women were in different parts of Trafalgar Square.
But
if that is a reflection on our country today, then that's a very dark place.
The women at that event chose to attend. They chose where to stand. Are you saying that British Muslim women can't be trusted to make their own decisions about how they practice their faith?
I think segregated events are not to be encouraged. I want men and women to be on an equal footing in our country.
Can you point me to a single occasion?
Absolutely. And let me make one point, Lewis. The organisers of this event, because you raised them, Ramadan Tent Project, do you know who is the CEO of that?
Can you
Omar Salah. Let me just make this point, because it's an important one. The man who is the chief executive of the organisation that held that event, the Prime Minister, Keir Starmer, pulled out of an iftar with him because he was a fanatic and was not prepared to be seen in public with him.
To a single occasion,
so
Robert Jenrick.
Do you think...
Can you point me... No, I'm asking the question.
Do you think we should have an event in Trafalgar Square?
I'm sure you could have your own GB News show where you ask the questions if you like, but coming on this one,
you're essentially defending
Can you point me to a single occasion when you have objected to gender separation in Orthodox Jewish religious practice in a public space? Because if you can't, why is the principle only activated when it's about Muslims?
It's not. I do not support, Lewis, I do not support the segregation of men and women
so let's imagine,
in public spaces, whether that is Christian, Jewish,
pray
Hindu,
separately.
Sikh, or Muslim.
They prayed separately.
I do
That's
not.
what Muslims do, just
I
like Orthodox Jews do.
I don't like that personally. I don't like that personally.
So is that a very
But
British
it's
value?
very different.
Is that a very British value? Talk about British values. Is it a very British value to tell people how to conduct their own religion? Since when?
We're all allowed our own opinions.
But you're saying the
Lewis.
event, of course you
And
are, but you're saying these events shouldn't take place.
My view is that a fundamental British value is that men and women live on equal footing in our country. And I don't think we should be encouraging, as you seem to be, events being held in our most important public spaces where men and women pray or stand or associate separately. I think that's wrong. Maybe you and I obviously disagree on this, Lewis.
No, I'm just
you
wondering why
maybe
you
think that it's okay for there to be, men telling women how to vote or women being stood somewhere else in a public space.
Robert Jenrick,
What
It's
we just
genuinely
watched is what happens when a political argument built around cultural grievance is forced to confront its own standards. Lewis Goodall's strongest move was simple. Apply the principle consistently. If this really is about protecting British values, then those values should apply equally, regardless of whether the person involved is Muslim, Christian, or belongs to any other faith. And once Goodall pushes that point, Robert Jenrick is forced to explain where criticism of particular religious practices ends and unfairly targeting an entire community begins. That distinction matters. British politics has seen repeated controversies over rhetoric directed at Muslims, including Boris Johnson's widely criticized 2018 comments comparing women wearing the burqa to letterboxes. When politicians use provocative language around identity and religion, critics argue that it can turn legitimate debates about integration into something much broader and more divisive. And that is why journalists need to keep asking these questions. Don't just accept the slogan. Ask whether the principle is being applied consistently. Ask whether another religious group would be described in the same way. And ask politicians to defend the actual standard behind their argument. Because once you remove the culture war language, the real question becomes remarkably straightforward. Are the rules supposed to apply equally to everyone or not? Let me know what you think about Robert Jenrick's argument in the comments. If you enjoyed the breakdown, hit like and subscribe, and thanks for watching.